I am Steve Corcoran, 20-year Navy submarine veteran. I served 20 years from 1987 to 2007. All that time was in the submarine force. I am currently the base commander of the USSVI Bremerton base. I enjoyed my career and happy to share my career with you. It was late 1986 when I was living in St. Louis, Missouri. I was living with my brother and his wife, and we were at a pub having a couple beers, and my brother Greg asked me point blank, "When are you moving out? Rosie and I want to begin a family." I got the hint, and that's when I went to the military recruiters to figure out a career. I was 24 at the time. I joined late. I wish I would have joined at 18, but I had things to do. I was at the recruiter, I was at the MEPS. I was the last guy there. It was 1800 in the evening, and I had, at the time, I didn't know what they were, but I had 2 chief petty officers and a senior chief petty officer all day, all afternoon, trying to get me to go to submarines. And I'm like, there's no way this guy is going in submarines. They told me about the extra pay, all the cool port calls, all this and that. And in the end, I signed up for submarines, and it was one of the best decisions I ever made. I got out of the MEPS. My recruiter was there, who was a surface guy, a hull technician. His name was Thompson. And he said, "So what program did you take?" And I said, I'm going to go to Swazi A School in Dam Neck, Virginia. I'm going to be a submariner. And he told me, "I have no clue what that is. You're on your own." And that is how my career began. After going through sub school, A school, and C school, I reported to my first submarine, which was actually out here at PSNS, the USS Alexander Hamilton, SSBN 617. And we were in the shipyard here. So I was with that boat for the last 6 months in the shipyard. And when you're trying to get qualified on a submarine that is in the shipyard, all the systems aren't up and running, it's kind of difficult. But my first job was a food service attendant. Back in the day, they called it cranking. I was the night food service attendant, and that even made it more difficult to get qualified. But it was an experience that I will never forget. So then we got out of the shipyard. The other crew took the boat around. We traveled cross country. So I reported to Groton, Connecticut. That was where we home ported, Group 2, and started my real submarine career. I did 2 patrols out of Holy Loch, Scotland. In those days, you worked hard and you played hard. It was a 1 crew refit. So the other crew, after 3 days of turnover, flew away, and it was 1 crew, and we did our refit in probably 2 weeks. And then the rest of the 2 weeks, or remaining time, we had liberty. And we worked as a team. It was just an awesome experience. And if it wasn't for the experience on the Alexander Hamilton, I probably would not have done 20 years. We were cohesive. Even though I was a non-qual in the beginning, you still had a job to do. And they treated you with respect. And, you know, me being the older guy, this is pretty cool, you know, and we got it done. And like I said earlier, we worked hard and we played hard, and we really did. Even coming back to the States, we did things away from the boat, you know, picnics, barbecues, whitewater rafting. Just, we were a team and we were brothers, and it was very enjoyable. I was the night crank, so I started my day at 2200, and you know, I helped the night baker do his things, and then I would set up for breakfast, lay out the pans of bacon, the biscuits, and basically those guys come in. I'm the first guy they see in the morning because I'm serving them breakfast. So that's how they got to know me, because, oh, there's Corky, there's Cork, hey, you know. So you do, whether you try to or not, they get to know you. Hey, Steve, you got fresh coffee. Thank you. and you keep it hot, you keep it fresh, you don't let that pot go empty. Just the little things. And yeah, it sucked, but it builds character. Well, there were some mornings, some days when I was the night crank, I'd still be there at lunch, and guys would say, MT3, what are you still doing here? You were here this morning serving us breakfast. And I'd say, well, I got to get qualified, I got to get points. And they'd like, wow, and you're going to be back here in what, 4 or 6 hours, whatever it took. But that was expected in my early days, in my early career. It was expected to do that. But as you did more and more of it, and your shipmates realize, oh, he's serious, he is motivated, he wants to get this done. Because life gets easier when you get those dolphins, much easier. And that's motivation in itself, because then you are really part of the crew and you're part of that brotherhood that us submariners are. So, yeah, you know, respect, you have to build it, you have to earn it. I really believe that. And once you do that, there is a community that we all know in our submarine life that it exists. Mike Nixon was my first leading petty officer on the Hamilton. And I'll never, we'd meet on the stairwell. He'd be going down to the boat. I'd be coming off the boat in the morning. He was just a true leader and told you straight shot what is expected, not just as a submariner, but as a missile technician. This is your job and this is what you got to do. And he split it. He knew I was cranking at the time. And then even when we got underway, I was on the sticks, helmsman, plainsman. And it was just an amazing way, the way Mike Nixon taught me how to do things right. I do go on the boats once a week at least, and I interact with the submarine crews out there. And it's a different type of mentality. There's still smart sailors out there, and there's just other activities going on today that I didn't have 27 years ago, 29, whatever, how many years ago. It's just a different environment, and the technology is different. Where, you know, my day you had a piping tab and you had to go touch the gear. Now they have CDs and you do it online, you have a laptop, and that's how a lot of the quals are done. So it's just a different mentality, it's just different. The training has remained, or if not gotten better, since my early days. They do a lot more of it. The off-crew training period is actually training. It's so advanced now. At the Trident Training Facility, they have the dive and drive, new advanced technology where the officer of the deck can be on the sail of the submarine and he has these virtual goggles on, and they can actually make him look that he's in any port in the world with any type of weather condition, any type of environment, and they're training these young junior officers to pilot that submarine safely in and out of ports. And you have the lookouts, you have the chief of the watch, you have the diving officer, and they are still a cohesive team accomplishing that mission. So the training is the same, if not better, than when I was in, because there's so much more useful tools with technology. So I did a tour as a trainer at that Trident Training Facility. And prior to that, on the USS Ohio, I was the Deck Division First Lieutenant LPO, and that's the most junior division on that submarine. And I was also the ship's qualification petty officer. So exactly, my first boat, I'm the guy getting qualified, and now I'm in charge of the entire ship's qualification program. And I did share a lot. You know, I told these young guys, I said, my deal was, don't spend more than 3 days on any checkout. You're going to get lookups, that's a given. You're going to have those guys on the boat, they're going to give you that oolie that you're not supposed to know the answer to. and then there probably won't be an answer, but they're going to give it to you. And there's guys that want to make qualifying as difficult as possible. They're not there to help. So take your lookups, you spend 3 days on that checkout, go back to the same guy or same woman that you started that checkout with and get it done. And you should be qualified within 12 months. As I left the Ohio after 5 years on that submarine, I wanted to see where my missile tech sailors were coming from, to see if I could help in their career. And that last duty station was Trident Training Facility, Missile Technician Sea School. And that's where I continued on my career. I was an instructor for 3 years, training missile technicians, advanced schools for the fleet returnees. And I'll tell you, that was the most awesome tour of my career. 2003, I was selected Sailor of the Year for Trident Training Facility and Submarine Learning Center Sailor of the Year, and I went on for Shore Sailor of the Year. But all the awards, the bottom line is, I see my students from 2000, 2001, I see them today, and they're master chiefs, they're senior chiefs, leading young men, and I see them and they shake my hand and thank me for something little that I may have helped with their career. And that's the bottom line. And you know, I knew when you see those guys with anchors on their collars and a couple stars, it makes you feel good. You did something right. And when they thank you for it, there's the respect and motivation, and it just makes you feel good. So yeah, you become the mentee, the mentor, the trainer, the trainee. It is a cycle. And another reason I know I did 20 years. It's just a good deal. Rig for dive. Talking about a brotherhood. Okay, so we're on a submarine, and you have these divisions forward to aft on that submarine, and you need to rig that submarine for dive, which means keep water out of the people tank. And every division has rig for dive petty officers and an officer that needs to double check that that submarine is watertight before we submerge. There's a log, you have to sign for it, and when you sign in that log that you verified in your space that your space is ready to submerge and get underway, you're putting everybody's life on your signature, and that's everybody. So it's not something you take lightly.
So why do you think we have the structure that we do? Like you mentioned, the log and signing and the double check. Why is that a thing?
It's accountability, and lives depend on it. If you submerge, you need to come back. So it's just, and you got to trust each other. You know, we're on that submarine, we make fun of each other, you know, the sounder techs, the nukes, the yeomen, you know, but bottom line, we're all brothers, and we go to sea together, we come back together, knowing that who's in the maneuvering room, you got to trust to do their job. Who's in charge of the weapon system, you have to trust them. Who's running the galley, you know, not starting a fire. You know, you guys, it's trust. And rig for dive, paramount. You have to know it and just do it. You get underway and you do the deep dive to verify you have no leaks, right? So you have phone talkers throughout that submarine in every compartment, lower level, upper level, and you have to, again, there's that trust. You have guys on the sound-powered phones, you're going deep, and you're looking for leaks. Rig for dive, was it done correctly? You know, are you gonna have a leak? I have experienced flooding and fire, real deal, underway. It's not fun, but that's when you see your brothers in action. And it's not fun, but we all came back. You learn early that you can't call 911. You can't, it's you, and it's the guy standing next to you that's going to save your life, and you're going to save their life. And if that doesn't get into your head, then you're in the wrong place. And you learn that quickly. You do. Whether you're in the shipyard, you're in the shipyard, you can have fires next to the pier. It's still those guys, those people on that submarine that you have to count on. And that's what makes us special. Whether it's everyday life on that submarine, day to day. You're counting on those guys to stand their watch professionally, keep an eye on their panels, taking logs, checking their spaces, and not just going through the motions. And that's what we do as submariners, I think. You know, it's been a while, but that's what was instilled in me, is that you got to look out for your brother. And that's just the bottom line, Brad. And there are guys that don't do it, and they don't last. You know, they don't stay in the sub force. You know, it's not for everybody. It does take a special person to do what we did. I did have, no kidding, casualties on a submarine. The first one was on the USS Alexander Hamilton. It was actually during a drill. We had a panel back in the engine room actually catch on fire. And I'm going through the watertight door, just like the one behind me. And the drill monitor is there. He was going to take my canister and give me a fake canister. Well, he says, you're going to need this because there's a real fire. And we went back there and everybody did their job like clockwork. It's amazing. You know, yeah, you go in thinking it's a drill, but it wasn't. And the actions of the crew saved that ship. It's amazing when you're in a closed space like a submarine and you have a fire, how dark it gets. You cannot see inches in front of your face. And that's where the training, the qualifications come into play. And we did save the ship that day. And, you know, between the control room, chief of the watch, the dive, everybody taking their action and communicating, we were successful. The second casualty was a trash disposal unit ball valve failed open, and we had water coming into the submarine. And again, water everywhere, but everybody just knew exactly what they had to do, went where they needed to be, and we combated the casualty and were successful and came back. And it's times like that where you just realize how important being on a submarine, being qualified, and knowing your job is. You know, on surface ships, you have the damage control party, or you can call. That's their job. On a submarine, yeah, you got your primary job. I was a missile tech, but I was also the crank. I was a dive, or chief of the watch, helmsman, plainsman, but you're also damage control. And that is the main job of all the submariners. Damage control. For instance, on the Hamilton, first question on my qual board was locate every fire extinguisher on the boat, and I did. And then the fire hoses and this and that. So casualties are not fun on a submarine, but knowing your team and your brothers help a lot. And it's just not if you're married. Everybody has somebody. Everybody. You're missing somebody. And those family grams, sometimes the communications didn't work. I'm swearing at my wife, she forgot about me, you think the worst. And then you get one, oh, she's okay. She does love me. You know, it's you can't explain that stuff. It's just something, and then we do it over and over and over again. Voluntarily.
Opt in.
Opt in.
Opt in.
Yeah. The separation is a hard item to explain. I mean, I got 4 brothers, right? And they're hunters and stuff. Oh, you know, they're in the Midwest. I went out to Wyoming hunting for 3 weeks. I didn't see my wife. I didn't see Mary. I didn't see Rosie. And I'm like, 3 weeks? And you know, try 3 months where you can't pick up a phone. You know, it's a different level of people you'd like people to understand what not just submariners go through, but military people go through when they're deployed. It's not just, you know, you're defending your country, but it takes a special individual to do that in all the branches, you know, and that's the thing that the most difficult in my 20 years was that family separation. Okay, out of my 20-year career, I was married for 16 of them. And early in my career, I said, there's no way in hell I'm gonna get married. I don't wanna put anybody through this, because I saw what it did. But anyway, she was persistent, hooked me, and so they're special. That significant other, because that's the hardest part of being a submariner, is the family separation. You got kids, there's stuff going on, and you miss stuff. One of my patrols on the Ohio, we were gone, I think right before Halloween. We didn't get back till after New Year. So you missed Halloween, Thanksgiving, Christmas, and New Year. Okay, that was my first patrol on the Ohio. It sucked. I was done. And we were going the wrong way, because that's when we did the offset. And I said, this is done. Anyway, it takes a special person, and my wife was awesome. First time we ever got a flat tire in a vehicle was, Dad's not there. The husband's not there. You know, walk away, she got a flat. So many things that happen. So anyway, the family separation, continuing in my civilian life, the first job out of the Navy, I was 6 weeks away from my family. They were up in northern Wisconsin. I was down in Green Bay, and we had to find a house. I was living out of a hotel. So I'm down working during the week, traveling 400 miles on the weekend to spend time with my family. It was like, gee, some things never changed, right? First job out here with Lockheed Martin. The first 14 months, I'm out here by myself because my youngest had to finish high school. 14 months, I'm in Washington, my family's in Wisconsin. Did it suck? Yes. But did we handle it? Yes. Why? Because of the Navy. Tara handled it like a champ, okay? I'd fly home on long weekends, whatever. But the bills, the cars, took care of it. So that separation sucked. It did in the Navy. And we did, like you said, back in the day, we didn't have email, we didn't have cell phones, you know, so 8 family grams. But we did it, you know. I did 13 patrols, and it's just, you can't explain that to people. People don't understand that family separation. And how we do it, I don't know. There's some more magic. It's a miracle. Some don't survive. I got lucky, but that family separation was the hardest part of my career, without a doubt. Actions speak louder than words. And I'm going to go back to the Hamilton again. That crew, when we had a job to do, the senior guys didn't sit back and delegate to the junior guys. They took the dungaree shirt off. They got dirty. They mentored us. They showed us how to do it. Even the junior officers, the chiefs, they didn't just put the law down or put the, hey, this is what you guys got to do, I'm going home on liberty. They stayed until the job was done. And whether that was 12 hours, 18 hours, 24 hours, that's what leadership to me is that you just don't talk about it, you act on it, and learn from your mistakes and share that with the junior guys. I mentioned earlier, I started 24 years old, 6 years out of high school. The one regret I do have is that I didn't start when I was 18, but I was one of those guys, early 80s, there's no way I'm going in the military. I had the long hair, there's no way I'm doing it. And then I did it. So that's the one regret. And I feel maybe I was selfish throughout my career because of the family separation, but on the same line, my wife supported me 100% and so did my kids. So that's my aspect of it. The sacrifice, it's there. We go, we leave the family, it's what we do, and that is the biggest sacrifice was the family separation. I still have friends from 30 years ago that I keep in contact with. So it's something I don't regret ever joining the military, and I honestly don't regret joining the submarines. It was the best thing I ever did, and I'd do it again in a heartbeat. That's why I still do what I do with the community, being the base commander of the sub vets and going to meetings a couple times a month, reunions, conventions. It's a brotherhood, and I really enjoy it.